My name is Melissa van Dijk. I'm a professional and passionate makeup artist, and in today's video I'm going to show you 4 everyday eye makeup looks which you can create with the Kryolan Viva Brilliant Eyeshadow Palette. And we are going to get started with the first eye makeup look, which I'm going to show you right here as I put it into steps. And we are going to start off with a copper shade that we are going to apply all over the main lid area until we are reaching the crease. With this one, you can use either a crease brush or you can also use your finger just to make sure that the application is as easy as it can get. And so I'm going to start off with my finger, and then for the crease area I'm using the crease brush. Now I'm going to use the brush. And now if you have any fallout, you always can use a clean brush, use also a little bit of setting powder and then dust it away. And now once you have applied the shadow on the main lid area, we can move on to the next step, which is blending away the harsh edges so that we will have a softer look. But you can also use a clean brush. This can also be a blending brush to help you to soften the edges. And so once you have softened the edges, we now can also move on to the next step, which is applying the same shadow on the lower lash line. And for that I'm going to use the same grease brush which I've used earlier and just digging into the same shadow again. Now don't forget to connect the lower lash line also with the upper part to make sure that you have a smooth application right here. And if you need to, you always can go back in with your blending brush. And now for the next step, we can also go ahead and use a little bit of highlighter towards the inner corner. And for that I'm also going to use a very specific brush, which is the Petite Crease brush, to make sure that I can keep the focus towards the inner corner. And I'm going to dig into the shade Lychee, which will help me to brighten up the eye. And if you need to and you want to have a little bit more pigmentation, you can always dig into some water, dampen the brush, and it will help you to bring the shade a little bit more towards to make sure that it also has a nice shimmery point. And now once you have applied the highlighter towards the inner corner, we now can also move on to applying some mascara to finish off with the look. Now for the second everyday eye makeup look, we are going to use the same copper shadow. The only difference is we're going to use this one towards the crease and outer third. And then to soften the look, we're also going to dig into some lighter shadow for the main lid area. So let's start off with the first step, which is also applying the crease shadow. Now I'm going to use a crease brush as well as digging into the copper shade, and then I'm going to start off through the crease from the left to the right, and you can decide how pigmented you want to have it. If you want to keep it softer, you're going to use less product. If you want to keep it a little bit more intense, you can use more. So once you have applied the crease shadow and towards the outer corner, we now can move on to the next step, which is applying the lighter shade on the main lid area. Now this is an option that you can do, like you can choose between your finger or a flat eyeshadow brush to apply the shadow. I'm going with my finger, as well as also if I need to going back in with the crease brush to make sure that I'm melting those shadows together. And so once you're happy with the end result on how you blended those two shadows, then also with the last step, then you can also add some mascara to it. Now this is basically what the main lid area looks like now, and with the mascara it just will open up the eye. Now for the third eye makeup look, we're going to dig into some pink and red tones. And this can also be a very everyday wearable eye makeup look depending on what your job is. And still the color will look very suitable. And so we're going to start off with the first step, which is applying the pink shadow on the main lid area until you're reaching the crease. And this can be applied with your finger or with a flat eyeshadow brush, and then later on towards the crease with the crease brush. And this just will help you to make sure that you're having a beautiful finish and application. So I'm going to start off with my finger and then moving on to the brush later on. Now I'm going to move towards the brush. Now what's really important is that if you want that the shadow will show off a bit more, or if something is too subtle or too soft for you, then you always can use either setting spray or some water to help you out that the pigmentation is a little bit more intense, but you don't have to. So now once you have applied the pink shadow on the main lid area as well as also through the crease and have already blended it just a bit, we now can move on to the next step, which is applying the red shadow towards the outer third, which we are then going to blend a little bit more towards the pink, so that it also will add a bit of depth towards the outer corner. And I'm also going to use a crease brush for this, but this one is a little bit more dense and specific, but you can also use a flat or a very domed petite brush if you like to, depending on how specific you want to get the job done. Now you always can go back in with the pink shadow again. This can either be with the brush or your finger if you like to make sure that you have soft edges, as well as that you are going to make this line disappear. And so now once you're happy with the eyelid area and the outer corner, we now can move on to the next step, which is applying the same two shadows on the lower lash line. And for that I'm also going to use the dense crease brush, but you can also use a flat eyeshadow brush if you want to be a little bit more specific. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig first into the darker shadow, but then later on also into the lighter towards the inner corner. So I'm going to use the same brush and the darker shadow at first, which, by the way, don't forget to connect it also with the upper area. And then on the same brush I'm also going to use the light pink for the inner corner. And so once you have applied the lower lash line shadow as well, this is also the last step when it comes to the shadows that you can apply. Now the only part that's missing is a little bit of mascara, and then you're good to go with this look as well. Now moving on to the fourth and last eye makeup look, which I'm going to dig into some orange as well as the copper shade again, because those two in combination work beautifully together. And we are also going to start off with the first step, which is applying the orange shade on the main lid area. And this can be with your finger or with a different brush. I'm going to go between my finger and the brush just to make sure that I have also a smoother application. And so I'm going to use my finger first, and I'm going to start pressing it on the main lid area. And so once you have applied the orange shade on the main lid area, we now can move on to the next step, which is applying the copper shade into the crease and then also blending it at the same time. And so for that I'm going to use a crease brush, and you can also use a blending brush to help you blend the edges, and then digging into the copper shade. Now once you have applied the copper shade through the crease as well as a little bit more towards the outer corner, we now can also move on to the next step, which is applying the copper shadow on the lower lash line. And then also don't forget to connect it with the upper eyelid area towards the outer corner. And so once you have blended everything beautifully together, you connected the lower lash line with the outer part, we now can move on to the next step, which is also applying highlighter towards the inner corner. And for that I'm also going to use the petite tapered brush, because this is so specific that I can directly point it towards the inner corner. And I'm also going to dip it into some water to make sure that the pigmentation is a little bit more intense. And so once you added some highlighter towards the inner corner, if you like to, you can also move it towards the brow bone as well. Then we can move on to the last step, which is also applying mascara. Now this is now what the finish looks like when it comes to the shadows, so add a bit of mascara and it will open up your eyes. Now those were the 4 everyday eye makeup looks which I came up with. And what do you think about this concept? Is this something you like? I mean, your feedback is welcome, which you can also put down below in the comment section. And with that being said, this is what I wanted to show you. This is the tutorial that I came up with, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it, as this is an independent channel. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye!